God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Finley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
Yes, he will.
My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by the illustrious singing diva, Toni Homeperm.
That's who I am today.
As opposed to every other day.
As opposed to every other day, yes.
Oh my God in heaven!
Oh my Lord! Well, in all fairness, we have to explain to everyone. Normally, we do one episode when we do our podcast.
Yes,
and we decided today to do since Maude's Dilemma is a two-parter. We watched the first half.
We watched part one.
Did our podcast, and immediately after
did part two.
Watched part two, and that's where we're at now.
And that's where we're at right now.
Review, and
it is
emotionally draining.
Very emotionally draining. This is a very heavy topic, and as mentioned in the previous episode, we're unsure if we're going to release them on the same day. Probably not.
I doubt it.
It's a very, very heavy topic.
Heavy, yes.
And as we continue to do more episodes of Maude, I genuinely feel like this is probably the most exhausted we're going to be in the series run as we continue to go over each episode.
I think that goes without saying.
Because there is so much that takes place in both episodes. And hilariously enough, in episode 2, it sort of flew by. Like, episode 1, we were intently watching, we were listening, we were paying attention. In episode 2, everything sort of felt sped up, almost. And I don't know if that's because of the episode itself, because in part 1, it's very much like, bam! We have everything.
Well, there was a manic.
Yeah, there was a
feeling.
There was a manic
episode to part one. Even in the writing and how the cast was interacting with each other. With as I mentioned, there was a lot of screaming over each other, yelling, cacophony.
Big cacophony sounds.
The cacophony of arguing amongst multiple people at the same time. And we didn't have that.
We did not have that in this one. This was definitely more like individual conversations happening with each individual cast member. Like in the beginning, the episode started with Carol in Florida, then Carol, Florida, Maude, then Florida leaves, then it's Walter, Florida, Carol, then and then we cut to Florida. We cut to Arthur and Walter in the bar talking. Then we're introduced... no, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. There was actually one point of manicness in this episode.
Yes.
And that was when we're introduced to Lorraine, played by Elizabeth Fraser.
Yes.
Well, let's
start at the beginning.
Let's start at the beginning. That's a very good place to start.
So now Carol, who apparently has a new hairdo.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really care for this hairdo.
It's almost reminiscent of what you would expect to see in the 60s.
No, it was a very 70s do.
Really?
It was a very 70s. It was like a shag.
Okay.
It was like a shag. But
I like it more when Carol's hair is coiffed in a sort of similar hairstyle to Maude's. Yes. Very full, with the curls in front.
Yeah. Carol and when Maude comes in at this point, Maude was wearing that hideous
denim gown again.
Denim gown. But Carol was also wearing this very odd-looking long dress.
Was it a dress or a dress robe?
I'm not sure, but I did not care for it. It had that Peter Pan kind of collar. I did not care for it.
Not the height of fashion.
And the print. I wasn't crazy about the print.
I loved Florida's outfit with the vertical stripes.
Yes, that bright yellow, orange number. Yes. Florida, of course, she's in shock. She can't believe that.
Yeah, Florida. Carol is sitting on the couch reading the paper, and then Florida enters, and they just have this sort of interaction with each other where Florida just still cannot believe that
Maude
Maude's
is
pregnant.
Right,
And
right.
Carol says, neither can Maude.
Right. And I think it's about at that point that Maude comes down and Carol's like...
I actually have it written down. If the stork ever came over my door, this is Florida talking about potentially getting pregnant. She says that her husband would immediately leave. Yeah. Hello, Junior. Goodbye, Senior. Yes. I actually, during the commercial break, I actually found out the type of character that Florida sometimes plays, and that's the minstrel character.
The minstrel.
The minstrel type character. Yes. And that they utilize Florida in that way in certain episodes. Very problematic. Yeah. Even back then, I think it was still considered problematic.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there was even an episode where it was, I think, Maude's musical, where they sang Me and My Shadow, and the last line of the song was, who would really know the difference? Maude turns to Florida. Who's really going to know the difference about who's the shadow? And the following line is Florida saying, the shadow do.
Oh.
So again, very, very problematic, but that's the term that I was looking for the last episode.
Well, at least we know it now.
Yes!
So Florida sees Maude and she says, "Morning, Mother!" Which of course leads Maude to reply.
Maude just sounds so throaty and so exhausted.
Yeah.
And she just glowers at Florida and is threatening her with watch it. Watch it is all she has to say.
She says, watch it, Florida.
Watch it, Florida.
Yes.
And Florida just comes back with, look who's telling who to watch it.
Yeah.
You are pregnant, madam. Just don't.
So now Maude has to tell Carol about the dream she had.
And she gave birth to the most beautiful baby with an 8-foot stainless steel umbilical cord.
That couldn't be cut.
That could not be cut. I don't imagine that would be comfortable. And then she said she was dragging Walter by the...
She woke up and she realized she was dragging
by the pants strings. Florida ends up asking, what do you suppose... what's the word on the baby? What's going on? And Maude asks, what's your opinion on it? What should I do? Because everybody else has apparently voiced their opinion.
Right.
And Florida says, well, I don't do windows, and I don't do babies. And then I think that was the last we saw of Florida for the episode.
I think so. I think that was
because now it was, Carol and Maude, they're alone now.
Yeah.
And
oh, no, we do see Florida.
We do?
We do, yes. Yes, think of prunes.
Oh, right. We don't. That isn't the last we see of Florida.
Not the last we see of her.
So, Carol and Maude are alone now, and basically Carol is saying, are you really sure you want to? What can I do to? What can I say to you to cause you to believe that you should not go through with this pregnancy? Saying that Maude is too old, how a woman of her age shouldn't be having a baby at this stage in her life.
It could be risky.
It could be risky.
For her health.
I think even Maude said, I'll put it on my calendar, Thursday, change life.
Yes. She said most women your age have already had menopause.
Have already menopause, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still such a heavy topic, man.
It really is. But Maude is insisting that she's going to have the baby
that Walter wants. Walter wants the baby.
And she wants to make Walter happy.
Yes. I'm of the mind that really should not be a reason as to why a woman needs to force herself to have a baby, especially if she is unable to have one.
True, very true. But I think in this case, Maude, she's...
Maude's using her own brand of logic.
Yeah, but, she's very much in love with Walter. And I think she felt that it was something, Walter... She thought it was something Walter always wanted, to be a father. The big thing that is discussed in this episode outside of the abortion is the miscommunication between the couples. Yes.
And how Walter was being vague and how Maude was also being vague, and there was never really a syncing between the two minds.
There was a lot of, I want you to do...
You do what's best for you.
What you think is best,
I trust
I'll be
you
happy
to know
for you.
I trust you to know what I want.
Yes.
And just that sort of back and forth. And again, if I know this goes without saying, but if you're in a relationship with someone and a baby is had, communicate.
Oh.
Open your mouths to each other. Don't be vague.
Very.
Just please, for the love of all that is Christ-like, don't be vague.
Don't be vague. No, not when you're dealing with another life.
I think before Florida goes upstairs to clean the bathroom because she is insisting that she needs to clean the bathroom, and how Walter is still in the bathtub.
Yeah. She wants to do the bathroom.
She wants to do her job.
And Maude is saying, "Well, you're gonna have a problem with that because Walter's in
the bathtub.
He's in the bathtub."
So when Maude presents that conundrum to Florida that Walter is in fact in the tub, Florida goes, "And end up just like you, no ma'am."
No ma'am.
So.
And she's made the comment about that he's gonna
look like a prune.
A prune.
He's gonna look like a prune. So yes, Florida ends up, I think, going upstairs. And
no, I think she goes back into the kitchen.
Then they discuss the coffee. Is black coffee a problem for a woman in my condition?
Yes.
That's what Maude asks of Carol, and Carol says, "Well, it'll keep you up."
And Maude then goes on to tell Carol about how difficult it was when she was pregnant with Carol.
She was pregnant with Carol because they were pregnant and
poor.
Pregnant and poor.
And she had to go to the laundromat, and there were the perverts there watching the panties.
Okay, can you explain that to me?
It doesn't do anything for me.
It doesn't do anything for me either. When I put my laundry in, I'm more interested in just looking at them all swirling around. I don't care about what's flopping around in there.
I could care less.
Like, I don't know. But that's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Like, what possesses a person to have... I understand the nylon fetish cake. I get...
Well, anything can be fetishized.
True.
Anything can be fetishized. So.
True, but I don't know, man. I don't get it because I don't get turned on by it. But if somebody gets turned on by somebody's stockings flopping around in a washing machine, then by all means.
I mean, we both have, tights, brassieres.
We both have tights, brassieres, all that fun
corsets.
stuff. One of the big jokes that I was even telling friends of mine was like, for the last 2 weeks, I have been looking at nothing but breasts. Because I've been looking for a breastplate.
Yes.
And not only are they expensive, but they're very lifelike. And I look at them and I'm just like, yes. I am positive that somebody, somewhere in God's creation, goes through eBay and just is doing their thing while scrolling through eBay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it just...
I'm sure. On Amazon, they have to block out.
They have to censor.
Nipples.
They have to censor the nipples.
They
have to censor the areolas.
Yes. Funny thing about those things.
What, areolas?
No, the breastplates. Now, I mean, they're completely fake.
Yes.
But I have had many, many, many times where
many times
I'm out wearing one,
yes,
and at a bar or whatever, and talking to a straight guy, and all of a sudden I realize they're staring at the breasts, and they're not even looking at me in the eyes, and I call them out on it. I go, are you checking out my rack? And they immediately, they're like eyes flip up to look me straight in the eyes, and they're always like, "Oh no, I swear I wasn't." And I'm like, "What do you mean you were?" And I'm like, I had to pay a lot of money for these things. You better be checking them out.
You would.
I do. I do. But the funny thing is, they're not even real.
Yeah, they're not real.
And they're fixated on them.
But I mean, that's... The sexualization of the breast, of the female breast, is really just problematic in and of itself.
Yes.
Why are we getting turned on by this organ that is just there to produce milk for a child?
Well, no, it's not just for that. I mean, it is a sensitive,
true.
Area
that is a
for
sensitive.
women.
It's an erogenous area. It's an erogenous zone. I understand that, but even so, just this obsession that men have with breasts.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Americans...
I say this as someone who doesn't traditionally wear breasts.
Mhm.
As someone who impersonates Bea Arthur, who does not, when she was in Golden Girls, she did not have her mammary. She did not have her mammaries. But in Maude, she was definitely stacked. And I mean, I've had that same thing happen to me, where I'm in a costume, and I will have my breasts on. Plus the fact that I'm so tall, it's just an easier target to look at.
Yes.
You don't have to constantly look up.
Right. It's at eye level.
Correct. It literally is at eye level. And I'm also very stacked. Like, I am very well known for having long legs and great big breasts.
There are worse things. There are certainly worse things to have.
There are certainly worse things. But we digress. The episode continues.
That's Walter comes. He comes down in the towel.
He comes downstairs in a towel. He showed a lot of flesh for a husband on a sitcom.
He did.
I think I've also mentioned this in other episodes. One of the reasons why Maude only received one Emmy was because I think it was the episode where Maude Bares Her Soul that got her the Emmy. Because there were a series of producers and elected officials within the Academy that basically said to Norman Lear, because Bill Macy dropped his pants at an award show, Maude would never receive any Emmys.
Right.
Which just, to me, that's so petty. That's so petty. Like, you're going to hold that against...
Well, this is the thing, and I just remembered this, but Bill Macy, I believe, got his start in the musical Oh Calcutta, which it ran for years on off Broadway. I actually saw it, where the cast, it's a musical, but the cast all at some point are naked on stage.
I did not know that.
Yes.
But
Oh,
Bill
Calcutta.
Macy can't sing.
He
can act, he just can't sing.
Well, he
made it work.
I guess, Yes, it was an avant-garde theatrical revue created by British drama critic Kenneth Tynan. It consisted of sketches on sex-related topics, debuted off-Broadway in 1969, and it had a lot of performances.
Had a lot of life.
Yes, but Bill Macy was he was in Old Calcutta, so he had no
qualms about being
naked
in the buff.
Yeah, I mean, he was, when he did Old Calcutta, he was naked every night in front of a whole audience full of strangers.
True. So. And then you have Maude, who's like constantly very, very Diane Keaton, we'll say.
Yeah, so I guess that's why he had no problem with, we had them stripping
being
him down in
boxers
true. And Doctor. And
he did
around
that
in just
of
a
times.
towel. And, it was, I have to assume nudity was not an issue for him.
No,
it couldn't be if he, after having done
Old Calcutta.
Yeah, I guess it just becomes, night after night after night.
Yeah, it just becomes commonplace.
Naked on stage, it's probably just like, there it is.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yes.
So Walter comes downstairs in his skivvies, in just a towel, and says, "The prune is finished."
Yes, he yells it he opens
the kitchen door
and yells to Florida, "The prune is finished." And then runs back upstairs.
Yep.
And then the doorbell rings.
And
there's Lorraine, as played by Elizabeth Fraser.
That is just... I remember that scene used to terrify me. I don't know why it always used to terrify me.
Why?
But seeing Maude go... I think it was the little girl screaming that always like, wait a minute, like, is that sounds like someone's genuinely in pain right now. So... Lorraine comes in and...
She's picking up Philip
to just take them, I guess, to the movies or...
something, right?
Just kind of a play date.
Yeah.
A play date. And Philip is just... He's so tiny. No lines.
No, he's just...
Very rarely...
Down the stairs and out the door.
Down the stairs, out the door.
Now, they're mentioning that Lorraine has 4 kids. She's also in her 40s.
Early 40s. She's in her early 40s and she has 4 kids.
Yes. And... Now, Oh, yes. She says she needs to use the powder room.
Yes.
And asks Maude
watch the kids.
to watch kids. And
Watch
also
the
the
kids.
phone. The phone is
rings.
ringing.
Yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot happening.
So Maude is back and forth between yelling at the because Jimmy starts honking the horn on the car, and she's yelling at this kid Jimmy. Who I really wanted to slap Jimmy.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know. I don't. Jimmy Cochran. That is Jimmy's name. Jimmy Cochran.
Yes.
And
if he's doing something to the dog,
pulling the dog's tail,
and Maude, I think, tells him,
instead of pulling the dog's tail, pull your sister's hair.
Yeah, that's what.
And that's when he's screaming. The little girl starts screaming, and I remember hearing it, and I'm like, "Wow, that is aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
That is very aggressive."
Yes, and Maude's running back to the phone.
To have a conversation with the solicitor.
Well, no, they wanted to know what TV show she was watching,
and it was called The End of the World.
It's the end of the world. Yes, and then now Lorraine comes down, and Carol has brought
Philip
down, and Lorraine wants to congratulate Maude on being preggy. I
hate that word.
Oh, it's a horrible word.
That's a hideous word. I would if I was ever in that condition, I would never want to be told I'm preggy. Just no, thank you.
Well, you're not ovulating right now, are you?
No.
Oh, thank heavens.
No, not yet.
My eggs have all dried up.
You have experienced menopause. I have not been blessed with that yet.
You're old, you sad, get over it.
So Maude is just overcome with anxiety because the children have really raised her blood pressure.
And now Lorraine is that she is
also preggy.
But she's not showing it. But the thing is, Lorraine
was played by Elizabeth Fraser, who was a very rotund woman.
Yeah, so I think it would be a little difficult to notice if she was showing.
One of the things that really bothered me, and this treks back to our last episode, because Carol goes, "Well, why are you having another kid? You have the choice to not have a child if you don't feel you can or you feel you want to." Right. And Lorraine goes, "Oh, well, I can't do that."
Yeah, she wouldn't even consider
taking that decision away from her husband. That is certainly a product of its time.
Oh, yeah.
Where a woman will just have the baby because she wants to keep her husband happy. Yeah. And is it true that a change of life baby or even a baby can help a marriage?
Not that I've ever heard of.
In my experience.
In your experience.
In my experiences, people that are unhappy, you're going to be unhappy regardless of what you do. Regardless of whether you say polyamory is going to help, regardless if you say introducing another person into the bedroom is going to help, if the relationship cannot be helped, a baby is certainly not going to help. Because then you have two very imperfect people making this child that is also going to end up imperfect. Yeah. Just...
Well, here's the thing.
And there are some people that will have a baby intentionally just to lock their partner into the marriage. Yeah, that is a. Whew.
But happiness can really only be found within. That's like when
Would you hold those words?
Yes.
I want to go and get a sewing basket and embroider them on a whoopee cushion.
Please do so.
That. I love when you reach into your golden bag and pull out one clinker after another.
My golden bag. But
it's true. It is true.
A lot of times, and we've experienced this with a lot of gay friends, that they're like, they haven't found anybody here, and so they're deciding they're gonna move someplace else so that they can meet somebody. Yeah. And I've always said to my husband, I'm like, it's not the geography. It's
the person.
The person.
It's the person.
It's not the geography. There's something going on inside of them that, they're not able to create a lasting relationship.
They're not able to create their own happiness. They
exactly.
They have to.
Yeah. And a change of geography is not the cure. And
A change of geography is not the cure.
Just as if there's a problem with the
baby
relationship, a baby
is not going to help a relationship.
No, not in the slightest. If anything, it's just going to make
matters much worse.
Worse,
not only for you and your partner, but also for the child.
Yeah, if the relationship is not healthy.
Actually, speaking of pregnancies, I had just recently read an article because I follow some of those simpy, silly Facebook groups, Facebook posts and whatnot.
Yes.
And there was a boy, I want to say a 21-year-old, he created this place, this box, where you can put your baby if you do not want the baby.
Oh, yeah, they've had those for years, like at hospitals.
I just find that
fire
fascinating.
departments.
Yeah, fire departments.
Yes. So if a woman... Usually what's happening, it's usually postpartum depression.
That too, yes.
They don't have a support system.
Nope.
And
or an abusive husband.
Yeah, or
spouse.
sometimes it's a teenager.
Who's
had a baby in secret and they don't want the family to know.
Yeah.
As a way to, instead of somebody dumping a baby in a dumpster or a trash
or a
can,
toilet,
they take the baby, they put them in this receptacle. And it immediately alerts somebody like a medical professional or an EMT or somebody
to come and collect the child.
The baby is there, and and they immediately go and take the baby and take the baby into care. It's horrible that we live in a world where that has to be a thing. It's a necessary thing for the world we live in.
There's a few reasons as to why there are things like that happen. Unsupportive families, being too young, being too old, financial hardships, because again, as we've discussed in the previous episode, having a baby is an expenditure.
Right.
And it is very, very expensive to have a child. Right.
Also, like I said,
it's very expensive to have any type of living, breathing thing that you take care of outside of a plant.
You don't want to see my cat's vet bill. I'm serious.
Oh, I'm sure. I do not doubt that, friend.
But also, a woman could be experiencing postpartum
depression.
It's a very serious thing.
Yeah.
And, if she's alone without a support system...
Who knows what... And we'll have another Casey Anthony on
That's hands. A Molotov cocktail waiting to happen.
That's right.
So, yes, those baby depository things are,
they're a real thing.
It's a real thing. And it's a good thing.
It's a very good thing.
If somebody's in need of that.
I do wish that there would be more... I wish that there would be more things like that. I know Planned Parenthood might be working on something like that, but who knows?
I don't know. But they've had those for years.
I did not know that they had them for years.
Yes.
You learn something new every day when you listen to God Will Get You for That, Walter.
Absolutely. So now Lorraine, she's asking Maude if she's going to breastfeed, and she tells her about the...
and Maude says, "No, I'm just having coffee."
Yeah, she's like, she says, "Are you nursing?
Are you nursing?" "No, I'm just having
coffee."
And Lorraine insists upon lending Maude the art of breastfeeding because it's apparently an art.
Yes. I was not breastfed.
Neither was I.
You weren't.
I was formula.
Okay, because when
all formula all the time.
When I was born at that time, women did not breastfeed.
Yeah,
it was like they wanted the kids on formula. Mm-hmm. It was like now when my children were born, it was a very different story. And
your wife breastfed?
My wife breastfed. Yes.
Okay, I did not know that.
Well, she breastfed our first daughter.
Okay.
The second daughter, she was having a problem, and it was like souring her milk, so she had to switch to formula. Yeah, but breastfeeding, like for quite a while, like fell out of fashion, and then it started coming back into fashion again. It's hard to call it a fashion, but it was I do believe...
Wasn't there a manufacturer that, like, had the formula, that the formula was ruined, and there was a recall on it, and it just sort of made everybody go up in arms about starting to breastfeed again?
No, it was people, became more fully aware of that. The best thing for a baby is breast milk. Especially, when a woman is first breastfeeding, they're giving the baby a lot
nutrients,
of antibodies too, that help to keep a baby healthy.
Yep.
It's also very important for the baby's mouth development, because they have to learn how to latch onto the nipple.
Yes.
And I actually, I'm what they call a tongue thruster, because I was not breastfed. What they used to...
My tongue was tied.
Your tongue was tied?
When I was younger, my tongue was tied.
Well, that's different. They had the underlying tissue was like it attached too close.
It was still
to
attached
the
too close to the teeth.
Yes. No, my problem was I was a tongue thruster, because when the bottles that they had, the nipples for the bottles when I was a baby, the nipple was very long.
Oh,
and
yes. Yes.
Now a nipple on a bottle looks very much like the nipple on a breast.
Nipple on a breast.
And what that caused is it's sort of like because it's easier for the baby to get the milk out of those longer nipples.
Uh-huh.
The mouth and jaw, they don't really develop the strength that they really normally should have. See, most people, when your mouth is closed, just close your mouth. Where's your tongue?
Behind my teeth.
Really? Most people, it's on the roof of the mouth.
I mean, it's both, I guess.
Most people rest.
Yeah, I rest my tongue on my teeth.
Yeah, so do I, because I'm a tongue thruster. Most people rest their tongue on the roof of their mouth. Most people, the roof of the mouth is smooth from years of resting the tongue on the roof of the mouth. See, because I was bottle fed with the long nipple, and this isn't everybody, but for some people it did happen. My tongue rests on my teeth. So, and it's also why I have the slight lisp.
Well, you have a slight lisp, yes.
Yeah, that's why I have that. So,
well,
I know the things you learn.
The things you learn.
The more you know.
The more you know.
But of course, breastfeeding is the best thing for a baby.
Yeah.
Breast milk is nature's way of saying this is the best. This is what a baby should be drinking. It's also why we really shouldn't be drinking cow milk. Cow milk is really designed. That's really
cow milk is designed for cows.
It's designed for calves. I often wonder who the hell thought of drinking, milk from an animal in the first place. It's kind of a strange thing.
I don't know.
Not that I don't love dairy. I do. I love cheese and ice cream.
Agriculture, probably.
But, you got to think about it. Who was the first person to say, I'm going to drink some of the I'm going to drink some of the cow's milk. It's like, who is the first person?
The first person to look at a cow's udders and be like,
man, I want me some of that.
Oh, hell's bells.
Right? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, so Walter comes down. He's dressed now from the shower.
Yes.
And, so Maude is like, she's making him coffee. She says she wants Walter.
Carol is insisting that Maude and Walter should not be having a baby.
Right.
And Carol really wants to know, what Walter's thoughts are, because Carol only hears what Walter says through Maude.
Right.
And you already have, a smoke screen there. So Walter comes downstairs and Maude goes...
He doesn't have time for breakfast.
He doesn't have time for breakfast. He's only having coffee because he's playing golf with Walter.
Just wants coffee.
Golf with Arthur. Again, I constantly am confusing the two of them. It's disgusting. So Carol goes, ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Maude turns to him and says, Walter, what is it that you want? Walter says, I want it black.
I want it black. You think he's talking about the coffee.
But the joke, that was a good joke that landed. That was, yes. I have to say, that was funny.
Yes.
And Walter and Maude have this sort of back and forth where it's like,
what do you want?
What do you want? I want what you want. I trust you to know what I want. And again, very vague, very like non-confrontational. There's no like really big blowout fight between the two of them about this.
No.
And then
there was so much of, I want you to be happy. Well, I want you to be happy. I'll do what you want to make you happy. But nobody's saying what they want.
There's no concrete evidence that Walter wants the baby.
Right. And Walter tells Maude that she's not going to have to, decide about this ever again, because after he's having a vasectomy,
he's having
a vasectomy after golf.
And Maude, what a delicious line that a vasectomy after golf. That sounds like a new play by Noel Coward.
Yes, it does.
And it does sound like a new play by Noel Coward. So yeah,
and then Walter leaves, and of course Maude and Carol still go back to.
Well, because Carol noticed, like, that did not sound like a real answer. That still sounded like a husband who didn't know what he wanted for his wife.
Yeah, they were still very wishy-washy.
Very
on
wishy-washy.
The whole subject.
And again, the idea that a man needs to dictate what a woman should do with their body really is just so entirely problematic in and of itself.
Very outdated.
Very outdated. No man should have the power to say, yes, we're having this baby because I said so.
Because I said so.
And if you have a spouse that's like that, regardless if they're a male or female or both or undecided, just leave the relationship. Save yourself the headache and heartache.
So
go have kids.
Yeah. So now we went to commercial. There was a commercial break.
There was a commercial break.
When it comes back, Walter and Arthur are at the bar as usual. It's always that same bar.
That same bar.
And he's telling Arthur that Maude wants the baby, because she was something about her tossing and turning all night.
Tossing and turning all night because she was losing sleep, and then
and they were talking about the kids' books.
Yeah, Goodnight Moon and the little engine that
could.
And Walter's like reciting the lines: "Goodnight house, goodnight mouse, goodnight bed, goodnight whatever it is."
Yes.
I've never read Goodnight Moon, but it was my mother's favorite story when she was growing up.
Okay.
Potpourri, I guess.
And Walter, he's saying that
they're discussing vasectomies. That's exactly what they're discussing.
Well, no, Walter also brings up that he thinks Maude also has like a moral issue with abortion.
Yeah,
too.
Very much so.
So it's like a whole mixed
as we've mentioned in the previous episode, an abortion is something that we as male presenting individuals cannot fathom.
No.
We cannot fathom the amount of emotional torment that a woman goes through if and when they ever decide to terminate a pregnancy.
Right.
With that said, it's really up to the woman to make the decision and go through the procedure. The woman goes through everything. The woman, receives the sperm to fertilize the egg and then has to make the decision as to whether or not they want to keep the child.
Right.
And it really becomes a morally, I don't want to say bankrupt, but it becomes a moral issue.
Yeah, it's a moral issue because you do have another human being inside you.
Yeah, but even there's always going to be that determination of, and they use this excuse in the red states, we'll say, and they'll say life begins at the heartbeat, and it's like no, life does not begin at the heartbeat. It begins after the baby is born. And then you'll have people who are like, well, what about the third trimester? And it's like, the baby still is not fully developed in the third trimester. If the baby was fully developed, the baby would be had in the third trimester, but that's not how it works. And just this constant argument and morality. And then when you throw religion into it, it just becomes this diabolical mess.
Yeah.
So I cannot imagine what being a woman in the 40s and 50s growing up, not only having a child and being pregnant and poor, and I'm speaking specifically about Maude, but also to hear all of the people who would say that abortion is wrong and that terminating a pregnancy goes against God and it's sinful, it's evil, it's this, that.
Right.
To then, in the 70s, be met with this sort of dilemma to use the term to use the title of the episode.
Right.
It becomes a very difficult decision for a woman to have, especially in Maude's condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for the men to sort of be having that conversation, yes, kudos for them for actually having the wherewithal to have that conversation in a bar between two close male friends.
Right. Okay. Then they proceed to talk about the vasectomy, because now Walter is
actually due in for his appointment after the bar.
Right, he's due to go get the, as they call it, the snip snip.
Yes, which there's a lot of stigma behind that, which is one of the reasons why a lot of men don't get vasectomies, because they think that their balls are going to get chopped off. They think they're going to lose their testes.
It's going to affect their virility.
It's actually a very simple procedure. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna go into detail on it.
Okay.
So you're sitting in the stirrups. They provide the local anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
There's two tubes that go to...
I think those are the vas
deferens. They're called... See that? You know! I'm so proud of you.
I know.
Well, when you're close to them enough, you know.
Yes, we may have more familiarity with vas deferens than the average male.
So, yes, the vas deferens... It's a tiny incision that is put into the sacrum, and the vas deferens is essentially disconnected from the testes.
Right.
So there is no sperm production, because the sperm is the I don't want to say the egg, because that's not it entirely.
No.
The sac is what produces the sperm.
Right.
Along with, glucose and other nutrients and whatnot to make it easier for those suckers to swim to the egg.
Right.
And that's basically what a vasectomy is. Like, as soon as the vas deferens is disconnected from the sacrum to the body...
No more swimmers.
No more swimmers.
Very simple.
Very, very simple operation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, again, just so much stigma behind it, because men think that they're going to lose their testicles, they're going to become a eunuch, they're going to lose everything.
No, not at all. Now, what was also funny was they were talking about the public bathrooms.
Yeah, and how Walter is such a, I don't want to say a germaphobe.
Yeah.
But he flushes with his foot.
Well, no. Walter he always has to put a little seat liner on the John. But Arthur is the one, he has to flush with his foot.
Yes.
And I will admit to having done that.
I've done it a few times myself. I've done it too.
I got into the bathroom and it's like, oh, I'm not touching that handle.
What I will say is, if I go into a public bathroom and it looks as a public bathroom should not look, I will flush with my foot. If it looks clean, I'll put some toilet paper on my hand and flush that.
Exactly. Yeah. So then you
just toss it right in the toilet.
Oh my God, you really are my daughter.
Yeah, no arguments here. No arguments from this side of the room.
So now, Arthur wants to make Walter feel more at ease about the vasectomy, and this person, Harry, who's in the bar, he's had one, and Arthur calls him over.
And Harry is played by Robert Mandan
from Soap.
And he also guest starred as Barry, Maude's gay friend in one of the episodes where Maude has a gay friend.
Oh, okay.
He also played...
He was also on Golden Girls.
He was also on Golden Girls. I forget who he played, but I know he played... Do you remember the episode of the Golden Girls where Blanche has that boyfriend? I think his name is Steve. And he ends up having a heart attack.
Oh, yes!
And
but
Blanche can't go.
She can't handle it.
Yeah, she can't handle it. He's having a heart attack.
Right, and then she decides she does want to be with him, but it's too late. Like, his ex-girlfriend, went to the hospital.
His ex-wife shows up, and then the two of them end up reconciling.
Reconciling, yes, because she was there for him. Yes, I do remember that one.
That is who he plays.
Robert Mandan played, and of course, Soap was created and by Susan
Harris, yes.
Also
starred Billy Crystal, a very LGBT friendly.
Yes, he was one of the very first
openly gay characters
on a sitcom. Although
that wasn't a stereotype.
That wasn't a stereotype,
and that was a recurring character.
Yes, but his character's name was Jody.
Yes,
And although they didn't, it was still like
taboo.
Yeah, they didn't really,
and there were still stereotypes provided.
Yeah, he was never really a fully developed character. I have to say, but we digress. Yes. So of course, Walter wants to know, how did he like having the vasectomy? And he's saying that it was great, that it took the worry out of being close, and that things are even better now with his wife.
Because when you have the ability to, oh my God, as queer individuals, we've heard the excuse, because we're doing it in the butt, we don't need to wear a condom. We still need to wear a condom, damn it!
Yes. You should always
practice safe sex. As a matter of fact, Tony gave me about half of his collection.
Yes.
And
just for clarity's sake, I did a benefit.
Yes,
and there were gift bags, and in the gift bags were all these condoms. Which for me, immediately I had to say condoms. Jeez, relax. Anybody can just get out of prison. So, but
oh hell,
being in a monogamous relationship for almost 20 years now,
yes.
we do not need condoms, and we're not in an open relationship or anything like that. So it's just
you know where he's been. He knows where you've
plain,
been.
Ordinary, and boring. So there's ain't no use for the condoms.
So
I gave them to my daughter. Hopefully, she can use them.
Yeah, I got a lifetime supply. I really did. I got a lifetime supply of condoms. Oh, God in heaven.
Oh, but yeah, so,
Harry is like doing very, it's a very pros and cons thing, where it's like, Walter is now weighing the options of getting a vasectomy, and he's talking to someone who has gone through the procedure.
Right.
And, Harry is being very forthcoming and honest.
Right.
Like, my wife and I love it. Like, we're able to, have sex without condoms. We're able to have sex whenever we want, and there's no worry, especially if my wife is ovulating. Like,
they don't have to worry about a pregnancy, an unwanted pregnancy.
Exactly. There's no pregnancy scare out of it, and it's a very adult conversation that Walter ends up mucking up.
Yeah.
Because Walter proceeds to ask, how do you flush when you're in the jar?
Do you flush with
your foot? Do you flush with your foot?
Flush with your foot.
And that's when Harry leaves, because apparently the conversation has just reached its end.
and Arthur tells Walter that he's an ideal candidate for vasectomy.
Very easygoing, very relaxed,
and he needs to get going for his appointment.
Correct.
And Arthur leaves, and that's when Walter calls the doctor
and cancels the appointment.
Wasn't that nice that the bar just has a phone?
It just has a phone there,
sitting there
that you can use.
What bar? What?
That isn't a payphone. What bar in that era that doesn't have a payphone outside?
I mean, I was like, what the heck? But you know what? I think that might have been the bar at the golf club. Now that I think about it, it's probably the bar at their country club. They're probably members, and that's probably why.
I never would have thought of that.
That's probably what it is. Now that I think about it,
I never would have thought of that, because they just finished golf.
I bet you that's what it was. In that case, it would make sense that
they have a private
there's
phone.
A phone for members' use.
Yes.
So
that makes sense.
If you go to a bar now and there's somebody, can I use the bar's phone? They're gonna be like, get the hell out of here.
Get out of here. Who are you? You're nobody. Go bye.
So then now we're at the bedroom. Maude and Walter's bedroom.
This is the big conversation that has really culminated in both part 1 and part 2, and it's a really delicately handled conversation, I think.
Yes.
Despite the fact that there's yelling that Maude is like with the whole gin rummy thing. So Maude is in her nightgown, and she is taking care of Walter because she
thinks she's had the vasectomy.
He's not only had a vasectomy, but worked a full 8-hour day,
played golf,
and played 18 rounds of golf. How do you do that?
Yeah.
How many hours did Walter really work? Because I'm sure it wasn't 8 hours. hours.
Yeah.
Like if you get a vasectomy, which takes maybe an hour, and then you have an 18 rounds of golf, that takes about 4 hours?
I don't even know. I don't play golf.
Neither do I. I can't stand the sport.
I can't stand it.
And then to work either 4, 5, or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like that is a full day.
Yeah.
So Maude is taking care of her husband, making sure that he's okay, saying, this is too much, like, please come to bed, relax, do all that fun stuff.
She's offering him pickles.
She's
offering him to bed.
Exactly.
She got him a book to read, which, of course, he grabs the book and he's like, The Art of Breastfeeding? He grabbed the wrong book.
And it was not The Art of Breastfeeding. It was something on politics. I don't even think she mentioned the title. I think she said it was just something on politics.
Something on politics, and she's asking him, what did the doctor prescribe anything? You have to stay off your feet. You need aspirin. Do you need an ice pack, a heating pad?
Yeah.
And from what I know, if you did have a vasectomy, you would. I think at the very least you'd be needing Tylenol and probably something. I mean,
need something after.
It's still a minor procedure.
I would probably say maybe a muscle relaxer.
I don't know about a muscle relaxer, but I'm sure it
painkiller,
like an extra strength Tylenol.
Yeah,
at the very least.
At the very least, an extra strength Tylenol.
At the very least. Maude's like, well, I can't.
I want to try and take your mind off.
I
can't do what I normally do.
What I would normally do,
which euphemism for sex.
So, she suggests that they play cards.
Yeah, they decide to play gin rummy. One day, you and I just need to sit down and learn how to play gin rummy.
I know how to play gin rummy.
I don't.
Oh my lord, it's the easiest thing.
Well, I'm glad you think so. I think it's hard.
It's either you have 7 cards, and you're trying to either get 3 of a kind, or 3 in the same suit, like in a progression. Or 4 of a kind, or 4 in a progression same suit.
See, that was one of my biggest regrets, was learning how to play cards with my grandmother. Because my grandmother used to gamble. She used to go to Atlantic City and Vegas. Mm-hmm. But I never learned how to play cards with her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, rummy is the easiest thing.
Well,
it's easy.
Then we'll just have to work together to play together at some point.
Absolutely.
That's what I have to say on the subject.
Absolutely.
So they decide to play gin rummy, and Maude is trying to have a very open, honest conversation, saying, "I've decided to have the baby." And
Walter said he knew it. He knew that Maude
was going to have the baby. But it's when Walter starts to call out Gin that Maude is becoming a little bit more.
Yeah, because he wins immediately 3 times in a row.
Yep.
Quickly.
And Maude becomes slightly more and more irate.
Yes. Maude does not like to lose.
Maude does not like to lose. Maude is not a losing gal.
No.
But as they're continuing to have the conversation, it's revealed that Walter really doesn't. He never really had an ambition to be a father.
He never really wanted to be a father.
Yeah.
And he's now finally admitting that he's happy to be a father because she's having his baby.
Exactly. Not because he wanted to be a father.
Right. It's not that he wanted her to have a baby so he could be a father.
This is the communication that they should have had earlier that morning.
Yes, way earlier.
But they decided to have it in the bedroom because, something, one, it's closeness. It's just the two of them. Carol isn't around. Philip isn't around. Florida isn't around. The two of them can just have an open, honest conversation with each other.
And Walter says to her that he really feels that it's wrong for her to have a child.
At her age.
Yeah.
And Maude agrees. But Maude, at that point, you're having a very emotional conversation. Maude breaks down a little bit. She's like, Walter, hold me close, hold me tight. Because this is a really big deal for a woman. She finally now has the ability to decide, yes, I'm going to have this procedure. Now, mind you, this is the last we ever hear about Maude having an abortion.
Having an abortion, yeah.
We never hear about this ever again. It's never mentioned at the end of the series. It's never mentioned in the middle of the series. It's just this episode, and that's it.
It's almost like these 2 episodes happen in an alternate universe.
Yeah, they happen in a vacuum.
Maude.
They happen in a vacuum,
and they never, and all the other episodes, that event never occurred.
Yep.
It's strange. So Maude she's while they're hugging, she's asking, well, were you frightened of having the vasectomy?
And Walter is
he's silent. He's silent.
Walter is silent,
and then he finally admits that he didn't have it. And
he just backs away so awkwardly because he knows that Maude's going to fire out and hit him.
Yes, and she doesn't. She laughs. And,
she laughs because I think she understands.
Yeah,
I think she understands.
Yeah.
Like if you're a spouse and you know that going through a procedure like that is going to be scary, you know that there's going to be that possibility that your husband or spouse will not get that procedure done.
Yeah. Very true.
But the two of them sit down on the... I don't know if they're sitting down or standing up, but...
I think they were sitting on the bed.
I think they were sitting at the edge of the bed.
At the edge of the bed, yeah.
Or on the ottoman or something to that effect. I know that they were looking at each other face to face, and...
Maude says, she's like, am I doing the right thing?
I want you to know, I want you to tell me I'm doing the right thing by having the baby. And again, she's looking for validation from her spouse, which I can completely and totally understand. Because it is... If you're in a committed relationship with somebody, yes, the conversation needs to be had. If you're somebody who may have accidentally gotten pregnant through whether it was a hookup or something far more insidious that I will not mention on this episode, then absolutely, the woman has the absolute... oh God, what is the term that I want to use here? Has the bodily autonomy to say, this is my decision, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
But in a committed relationship, there does need to be a conversation had, especially if it's a good relationship.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Maude made it very clear from the outset, she wanted to know what Walter wanted. Yeah. She never made any bones about that.
That's correct.
It was she always, from the very onset, it was, she wanted to know what Walter's feelings were. Did he want her to have the baby?
Like I say, the way that the writers handled the episodes was very, very good for the time.
Yes.
And, Walter says, in the privacy of our homes, you're doing the right thing not having the baby.
Yes. And I think that was important that he said that, for the privacy, within the privacy of their own lives.
Yes.
They felt that was the best decision for them.
Yep.
They weren't making commentary about what other people...
They decided it as a couple. It happened as a couple, and now they're deciding as a couple.
Right.
So I think that was a very wise decision for them to do it. I think it was a great way to end the episode as well.
Yeah, because in the overall scheme of things, it is, a private issue. It's for the most part, it's an individual issue. Although they,
it's intimate, it's individual, it's decided in terms of the relationship.
Yeah,
and that I think is why this episode is why this two-parter is very, very poignant, very prominent. I'm a little upset that it's the only thing that people remember from Maude. Yeah. Because there's so much more to Maude than just the abortion episode. Which is why we have this podcast.
Yeah.
Just to discuss everything that is about the show and the time in which it was created.
And they could have gotten out of the controversy. I don't know if you ever thought about it. But conceivably, what they could have done was have an epilogue where she, miscarried, or something like that. And the sort of like the decision got taken away from her.
True.
And it would have been a way to sort of...
it could have been a way to avoid...
Yeah. The controversy,
a scapegoat. Give them a scapegoat.
They could have taken that. Would have been an easy way out. If she the next day.
I don't think the episode would have had enough. I don't think it would have been as powerful if that was the case.
Wouldn't have been as powerful.
It would not have been as powerful. But also, I don't know if I mentioned this, or maybe I did. Maybe I did mention it. Now I'm trying to think. Again, I had it and then I lost it.
Oh, well. Maybe you never had it to begin with.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, God almighty. Maybe I will start looking up rest home brochures.
Not Shady Pines.
No.
Take my word for it.
But no, the episode the episode overall was well written. It wasn't... Oh, that's what it was. I don't know if I mentioned... I'm pretty sure I may have mentioned it earlier, but this episode didn't become the big Maude abortion episode until after Roe v. Wade was passed.
Right.
And that's very important to know, because when it was originally released, it was released with mild success, and then as soon as Roe v. Wade was passed, that was when the hate mail started to come into B. Arthur's lap. And, it's very important to know, because it wasn't originally released. It aired originally November 21st, 1972. But they re-released it after Roe v. Wade was passed. And it was at that point that the airwaves just exploded.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen it on Cozy TV. I do not know if Maude's Dilemma has ever aired outside of those periods in time. But all I can say is that this is the episode that really made Maude stand out from other sitcoms.
Yes. And unfortunately, I think it's what's kept it out of syndication.
It's what's kept it out of... Yeah. I 100% believe that this two-parter is one of the reasons why Maude has a problem in syndication. Because so many people... And again, even on comments when I post... Comments that were posted on my Maude Live, they were like, I used to be so scared of watching this because my parents were always so against me watching it. And I'm like... But it's here now.
Right.
It's here now. You can watch it. You can enjoy it for what it is.
Right.
And that's why we're doing this. But also why I'm trying to get Maude on Tubi. Or I'm trying to get Maude on some type of streaming service.
You're trying to get it anywhere you can.
I would try to get it anywhere at this point.
She's about ready to put up a projector screen and show it on her street corner.
Literally, there will be advertisements for it and everything. It'll be like, Maude, live, truly, but it's actually Maude the show.
She's going to be like, psst, hey kid, you want to watch Maude?
I have these bootlegs of Maude. You're free to watch them. Bootlegs of Maude. You can watch them wherever you want. Oh my god.
No, we do not have bootlegs of Maude.
We do not have bootlegs of Maude.
We do not.
The only thing we have are MP4s of them.
Yes, from your DVDs.
From the DVDs.
From the DVDs. That's how we watch. Oh my lord.
Thank you again for joining us on this whirlwind of a two-parter for Maude.
Wow.
For God Will Get You for That, Walter.
Yes.
If you would like to continue to follow us, you can on Facebook at God Will Get You for That, Walter.
Yes.
If you would like to follow me, you can at thattomcat.com. And if you would like to follow the magnificent Toni Homeperm, you can at...
No, go on.
I'm not going to. Not at all. You've enjoyed too much of my compliments.
Follow me at ToniHomeperm.com. Also, we always forget to mention this, but God Will Get You for That, Walter is also a YouTube channel.
That's right. Oh my God, how do we forget that? It is a YouTube channel.
So you can actually,
listen to us at any time
on YouTube as well as all our other platforms.
Yeah.
Buzzsprout,
Spotify, Pandora.
We're not on Apple yet.
Oh, we're not on Apple.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Well, I'm a patient person.
Yes. And of course, at Instagram,
Finley's Friendly Appliances on Instagram.
Which is also our email.
You can email us at Finley's Friendly Appliances. Please feel free to hit us up. Have a conversation with us. Start a conversation with us. We will be happy to shout you out in our next episode.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you.
Love to hear from you. But... unfortunately, on that note, this episode has come to an end, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter.
Or at least we'll hear them.
Or at least we'll hear them.
They'll hear us.
Every time! I actually punched my mother in the arm. Every time.
Parental abuse!
Yeah, that's it.
Good night, everyone.
NHS, good night, all.
Good night.